You open one task, switch to a message, back to the task, to another tab, then back again, and by midday you already feel drained. Nothing huge happened. You did not run a marathon. You just kept changing direction. By the end of this video, you will understand why that kind of day feels so tiring, even when it does not look demanding from the outside. Welcome to Mini Mind Hack. The everyday problem is not only that people have too much to do, it is that their attention keeps switching and each switch leaves something behind. We will start with what that feels like in real life, then look at what switching costs the mind, then at why unfinished tasks keep following you, and finally at why modern work and devices make the whole thing worse. A lot of mental tiredness does not come from one hard task. It comes from a day made of small task changes. You answer one message, open one document, check one tab, join one call, return to something you already started, and every return asks your mind to reorient itself. You pause for a second and think, wait, where was I? That small moment is not just a feeling, it is the mind trying to rebuild context. In task switching research, switching between tasks produces measurable costs, and those costs get heavier when the rules are more complex. In everyday terms, this means your brain has to spend effort every time it changes direction. Not on the task itself, but on getting back into it. So your tiredness is not only about the size of the job, it is about how many times your mind has to restart. A person can spend an afternoon on small tasks and still feel strangely spent because the brain keeps paying a toll to re-enter each one. The work itself may not be large, but the switching is constant. You can notice this in small moments. You reread the same line because it did not stick. You open a tab and forget why you opened it. You start writing something, then pause, because part of your mind is still in the last thing you were doing. Each time, you are not starting from zero. You are starting from a split. Sophie Leroy's work helps explain why this feels so sticky. She described attention residue, which is what happens when part of your mind stays with task A even after you have moved to task B. In other words, you are physically on the next thing, but part of your attention is still holding the last one. That means the next task does not get your full presence right away. You finish a reply, but you are still mentally editing it while reading the next email. You close one tab, but your attention is still attached to what you just saw. You sit down to work, yet your head is still in the last interruption. The result is not always obvious stress. Sometimes it just feels like you cannot fully land on anything. That is part of why the tiredness feels confusing. From the outside, you are getting things done. From the inside, the day never fully clears. One thing keeps bleeding into the next. Instead of a clean sequence, you get fragments, and the mind has to keep stitching them back together. That stitching takes effort. Research on interrupted work shows a similar pattern. When people are interrupted, they often try to compensate by working faster. But that comes with more stress, more time pressure, and more effort. So the day may look efficient from the outside, while the person inside it is paying for every interruption with a little more strain. This is also where modern life makes the pattern stronger. You check something for 2 seconds. You switch quickly because it feels harmless. You think you will come right back. But that small switch still leaves a trace. Then it happens again, and again, and again. Over time, the mind spends more energy re-entering tasks than staying with them. And once that becomes normal, fatigue stops feeling like a clear signal and starts feeling like background noise. You do not notice the exact moment when you became tired. You just notice that everything takes more effort than it should. Reading feels heavier. Starting feels slower. Even rest can feel incomplete because part of your mind is still attached to what you were doing earlier. So when you reach the middle of the day and feel drained, even though nothing extreme happened, it is not random. It is often the result of many small switches, many partial starts, and many unfinished endings. If this feels familiar, the key point is simple. The tiredness is not only in the amount of work, but in how often your mind has to restart. A day made of fragments keeps asking you to begin again, and that is a quiet cost that adds up. Thank you for watching Mini Mind Hack. If this video gave a name to something you have been feeling, leave a comment and consider subscribing for more calm, evidence-based videos like this. See you next time.